Hey everyone, I've put together a collection of simple and effective stretches and exercises that you can incorporate into your weekly rehab routine to improve foot drop after stroke. You won't need any special equipment, and it's best for survivors who have some level of movement in their ankle. All right, let's get into it. We're gonna start with a short warm-up focused on the ankles, of course, and if you can, we're gonna be doing ankle pumps, which is where you're lifting up your toes and then trying to lift up your heels. So just back and forth, lifting the toes, lifting the heels. Go at your own pace. You don't have to move super quickly. Very nice. Got about 10 more seconds and then we'll get into our first exercise. All right, we're at exercise number 1, actually stretch number 1, which is a seated calf stretch. So what I want you to do is you're gonna try to cross your affected leg over the unaffected, and you're gonna use your unaffected arm right under the ball of your foot to push that foot back. And you're gonna try to hold that stretch for 10 to 15 seconds, relax, and then try it again. So we're holding here, very nice. And the reason that we are incorporating stretches into this routine is because foot drop after stroke specifically isn't just a result of muscle weakness, although that is part of it. Go ahead and relax. Let's do one more. Bring that foot back and hold. It's also due often to spasticity of the calf muscles, pulling that foot down, making it difficult to raise the foot up. So stretching to help reduce spasticity can be helpful. Let's go ahead while we're here. We're doing our next stretch, which is ankle inversion and eversion, or moving the ankle from side to side. So we're gonna go ahead and stretch into eversion, which is pointing the toes out. So you're gonna take your unaffected hand and kind of push that foot down, and you're just gonna hold there for a few seconds. Because foot drop is not just about the dorsiflexors, it can also involve the muscles that make the ankle go from side to side. Let's go ahead and just pull that ankle up. Toes are in and we're holding here for just a few more seconds. Very nice. So stretching is really important in addition to doing passive or active exercises. Speaking of which, we're now at our first exercise after the stretching, which is ankle dorsiflexion. There are 2 different ways that you can do this, either passively or actively. So in this position, if you don't have a lot of active movement, you can passively try to move your foot through that range of motion. Just like this. If you have some active movement, try to help it along. Now you can stay in this position if you have just a little bit of movement and try to bring your toes up that way. However, if you have a little more movement than this, put your foot on the ground and you're gonna raise that toe up as far as you can and then bring it back down. So there are a lot of different ways that you can modify this routine depending on what level that you're at. Passive movement if you have just a little bit, active movement in what we call the gravity eliminated plane here. If you have a little bit more but still struggle with it, if you have quite a bit more movement, give it a little bit more challenge, raising the toes up against gravity. All right, now we're moving into ankle eversion, inversion, so toes pointing out to the side and back in. Same modifications here. So if you can cross that affected ankle over the unaffected leg, you're either going to passively move the foot side to side, toes pointing out, pointing in. If you don't have a ton of movement, you have a little bit more movement, you can even stabilize here at your lower leg and try to pull your toes out and in. Or for more of a challenge, if you have more movement, try to hold your foot up off the ground, point toes out, point toes in. Being careful that you're not just moving your knee, you wanna make sure that you're actually moving your toes, right? Fantastic job. Okay, Let's move on to the last exercise. Now this is the hardest by far, so you can do this one of two ways. First way is a little less challenging if you have less movement. This is resistive dorsiflexion. So this is where you're gonna try to point the toes up, and you're gonna use your unaffected hand to provide a little bit of resistance here to give a little bit more of a challenge. Now you can also do this with your foot down on the ground. Put your other foot on top of your toes, put a little force down and try to push those toes up against that force. So again, you can do it crossed over, or you can do it with your foot on the ground if you're looking for a little bit more of a challenge. Up to you. Every person is at a different place. So that's why I try to show these modifications so I can meet everybody sort of close to where they're at. All right, let's do just a few more here. 1, 2, last one. Stop here. We're taking a break for just a few seconds. So if you need, grab a sip of water. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Blow out through your mouth. You're doing a good job. We just have one more set of each of these exercises and then we will be done. Speaking of which, let's get back into our first stretch, which is the seated calf stretch. So this is where we're crossing the leg over and we are using unaffected arm to gently push the toe up, getting a stretch along the back of the lower part of your leg, along the calf. So you're gonna push there. Alternatively, if you can't get in this position, if you have something that you can kind of put underneath your foot, where you can get it in this position, you can get sort of a nice stretch that way as well. But if you can come up here in this position, you can just use your hand to push that foot back and try to get that nice stretch along the calf. Now remember, we're just holding 10-15 seconds, whatever feels okay to you, and then we are relaxing. Now you're gonna stay in this position for the next one, which is the ankle eversion, inversion stretch. So this is where you're here in this position and you're going to take and push so that your toes are pointed, in this case, down or out. You're getting a nice stretch there and you're gonna hold 10 to 15 seconds. Breathing through that if you need to. As always, with any stretches or exercises I show you, if you feel pain or discomfort, stop. Don't work through pain. Always check with your physician or your therapist to make sure any new exercise you're trying is right for you. All right, let's go ahead and bring the toes up, and you're just gonna hold in that position, getting a nice stretch into ankle inversion. The toes are pointed in. Very nice. Hold there for just a few more seconds. All right, great job. Moving into the exercise, ankle dorsiflexion. Like I said last time, got a couple of different ways you can do it. So you can either passively move your toes so that they point up. If you have just a little bit of movement, but it's hard to really actively get quite a bit, you can stay in this position if you have a little bit more movement and try to bring those toes up. Or you can bring the foot down to the ground, just like we kind of did at the beginning with our ankle pumps, and really focus on bringing those toes up as far as you can. Pointing them up towards your nose, towards the ceiling, whatever helps you to think about it. Very nice. Let's keep it going. You just find the position that works best for you at where you're at in your recovery. All right, fantastic job. Next exercise, we're at ankle inversion and eversion. So you can either stay in this position, but lift your foot off the ground. This is the most challenging. And you're gonna point your toes out and then bring them in. But you wanna make sure you're not just moving at the knee, right? Not like this. You wanna make sure you're focused on the toes, because that's what's actually gonna be moving the ankle. So you can be here, or you can come up here, passively meaning you're using your hand to help your ankle move through that movement. Toes point down, toes point up. Eversion, inversion. Or of course, you have a little bit more movement. You're gonna be trying to actively work through that movement in this position. Very nice. Keep it going, whatever position that you're in. Give me a few more. All right, fantastic job. Last exercise, you made it. We're doing resistive dorsiflexion. So we're either here in this position, using your unaffected hand on top of the toes, and you're trying to bring those toes up, bending at the ankle at the front part of your leg here. Good. And you're using force against your toes in this position, right? So you're trying to fight that movement. This is why this is more advanced. It's at the end. We are doing resistance here. Fantastic. Keep it going. Now, more of a challenge like I showed you last time. Foot is down on the ground. Other foot's providing that resistance. So you're trying to fight, fight, fight against your other foot as you push up those toes to the ceiling. Give me just a couple more. Fantastic. All right, that is it for today's workout. If you are looking for more foot drop exercises, you can check out this video I made a little while ago, and I will also leave a link in the description. If you found today's video helpful, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications on when I post new videos. Post-Stroke is a nonprofit, and you can help us keep our content free, either by giving us a super thanks by clicking in the YouTube bar below, by giving us a one-time donation via PayPal, or by becoming a Patreon member, where in exchange for a monthly donation, you get access to cool perks like behind-the-scenes footage and YouTube shoutouts, of which you can see a list of our patrons here. We cannot do what we do without them. Thank you all so much. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.